Hey guys, this is Harry with your host for a podcast. We're talking with God in prayer. Today we actually have a special guest. His name is Donald Porter. He is actually from Canada, and hopefully I'm saying it right. So there you go, Donald. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's
Well,
yeah. I'm in Canada. I'm in a little place called Hamilton. It's halfway between Toronto, Ontario, and Niagara Falls. So most people know those two landmarks. We're right in the middle.
well, there. I'm gonna assume that you're actually a Blue Jays fan,
Yeah,
and
yeah. There's a Blue Jay hat somewhere back there. There we go.
oh, there you go. And what is your favorite NFL team?
Uh, so I grew up watching the Broncos because Ed McCaffrey was my favorite player to watch. I can watch just about any NFL team, but I do enjoy watching the Patriots lose. That's just something that's I think
I think that's in
in me.
general.
But no, I would like to see Buffalo go pretty far this year. That would be nice. I think Josh Allen's a fantastic quarterback, and it is actually even nice just watching the Browns. I enjoyed watching the Browns with Winston on the field because he's definitely not shy about his faith, and it was just nice to see that publicly done in an athletic field.
Yeah, I I'm calling for the underdogs, Detroit Lions. I feel so
I
sorry, man. Like they had to my boys. They don't do nothing, but whatever.
Fair enough. No, I'd be okay with Detroit as well. I think Goff is also a great, phenomenal quarterback, and I think he deserves some light. As long as it's not Kansas City, I'm fine with that.
I know Kansas City is becoming like Patriots.
Yeah, to the new
I'm like
Patriots, to the new generation of
enough,
Patriots.
enough. But hey, I know one QB said it one time. Um, if you don't like it, stop them. And Cam
Yeah,
Newton said that when he was all the dab and everything that 2015 year. So, but that's another conversation for later on.
fair enough.
So, but no, thank you for actually coming, and actually, talking what inspired you to do, realtor, and things like that. So, one of like, as a CEO and founder of your Porter Association and the Agents League, how does your faith in Jesus and Jesus Christ guide your leadership and decisions making in the real estate industry?
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And kind of touching, I grabbed this earlier on, is God Space by Doug Pollock. This is the book that got me into real estate. I was a bit naive. I knew it was hard, and I'm not afraid of being in hard situations. I went to school for marketing. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up in sales jobs. And then before that, I was a musician and not a very Christian life at all. But while I was doing that, I was working for renovation companies. So I do know houses inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what it just seemed like a natural fit, especially sales wise. But the book God Space talks about evangelizing in the present age. So, what better way to evangelize than being in a scenario, guiding someone through the most delicate parts of their life with buying and selling. Their emotions are at an extreme high. You can be there for them during that emotional time, and at the same time, do my best to reflect Christ through what we do. Obviously, we live in a very secular city.
Mm-hmm.
It is not Christianity is not appreciated, and as a result, I can lose my license if I talk about Christianity to my clients. So obviously, I look for ways to just show God's love, and if the opportunity arises, then present the gospel there.
Mm-hmm. And
So, yeah,
as you build a successful career, right? As
yeah,
you mentioned, um, and focus on the fostering genius connection and adding value to others. How do you intentionally incorporate Christian values into the way that you interact with clients or other agents?
yeah. Actually, one of the biggest things is with my background in marketing and even stuff that I do with AI. It is heavily sought after information. I've
Mm-hmm.
also been extremely successful, which I gotta say is all God's doing. First year in the business, everyone says you're gonna struggle. First year in the business, I paid off our debts, like our credit cards and our car debts. Still have the house, but God just gifted us with this incredible business, and I always focused early on, before I built it out to be a bigger corporation. I always focused how much money I wanted to make based off how much I could give back. So
Yeah.
I would always set my revenue goals not in reverse. Is I just want to, if I could donate this amount of money, then that will make me happy. And to the point now where every single house we sell, because I put myself on a salary position within the companies instead of making the big commission checks, I'm actually running an actual corporation now.
Yeah.
We've actually set it up that every single house that we sell, we donate money to these two incredible missionaries in the Philippines. The northern part of the Philippines, there's no health care. So one rescues, she's a braver person than I am. She rescues women from sex trades.
Yeah.
And the other one is a midwife, and usually they're pregnant. So we try to give enough money that every single house that we sell saves a life. So everything, and that part I can talk about, and it talks about MSC, which is a fantastic missionary service organization, and that's one way that we can kind of lead the conversation in and test the waters. I guess it's almost like you could say back in the early centuries of Christianity, where they just draw the little Jesus fish in the sand, like, hey, is this safe? We can talk about this, right? So it's not our way of drawing the fish kind of in the sand to make sure we can put our toe there before we get it chewed off.
It is that organization that anybody can donate, or is that like an exclusive
Yeah,
organization?
MSC is a phenomenal. I think they call it the Women's Refuge of Hope. We actually, there are two ladies, and one's midwife and one is the sex trade thing. So you can donate money to them. They are phenomenal women in the Philippines doing this. I think it's called a Refuge of Hope. It might be their charity organization name. But they're phenomenal. They send out updates. They're right now working on building a bigger facility for the women. So again, my wife did a missionary trip to the Philippines. A lot of our staff are remote and virtual, so our heart is with the Philippines, and just there's some horrible things that are happening there. And if we can make a difference in one person's life, then fantastic.
Well, that's awesome. And if you don't mind, for the listeners, if you can actually share like a link, and we can actually put it,
Yeah,
at
I'll
the end,
definitely
we
share,
can
like,
actually put it there.
happy.
Yeah.
If anything, like raise them in this podcast. If we can raise them up higher than myself, then fantastic, because they are doing incredible things.
Yeah. No, and that's also like I also love like helping people. And that's what I actually do through my company from time to time from my employees. But I actually do separately. I would just my wife and I would just give money and things like that. But and you mentioned about your first year at building the business. For me, it was the hardest. I feel like the first year for me, I feel that was like it tested my faith. And it was so hard. But for me was like, and the reason I felt like it was tested because I wasn't relying on me and not on God. And my first year, I was like, I just can't. I wanted to quit so many times. And a verse came straight in my face, and it was like, trust in the Lord trust in the Lord. Don't, oh my, it's Proverbs. Everybody knows I have
Trust
that
in the Lord
verse.
and lean not your own.
And do not lean on your own. Yes. And I was like, and I have that right in my office. My wife gave it to me, and is that right there. And since then, I have noticed the difference of it, building it, especially even helping others, right? One of the things I myself have always prayed and told God, don't let me forget where I came from. And by me being able to help others, and yeah, I'm not a billionaire or millionaire, but if I have something that I can give someone to help out, because I want to shine that light to others, right? And that's what you're doing. You're shining the lights to the Philippines. You're your wife, and that's really awesome just to hear, right? That
Yeah.
we're still helping one another, and that's what God is calling us to do.
Yeah, and actually,
So,
and
yeah.
that's also part of what we're doing with the Agent League, which this is the logo for the Agent League. we are a coaching platform for real estate agents, and so we do a lot of things with them. We speak at different brokerages. We speak at conferences. I'll be in Vegas in the end of February, speaking at R4. My wife will also be speaking at R4. I think we're speaking in Jacksonville, Florida, in February as well, maybe March. So, like the more that we can help and avoid some pitfalls, like
Yeah.
early on the first year, it was actually the opposite story for you. I just trusted God because I had no idea, and He took me on a wild ride.
Yeah.
And the second year, again, it was crazy. It was amazing. But that's the year that my business exploded, and I missed almost the first year of my kid's life, like the second year of my kid's life. I don't remember much of my daughter, who's Olivia. I don't remember much of her life at all. I was working full time in Toronto, which is, if anyone knows the traffic between Hamilton and Toronto, they say Toronto is an hour from Toronto. That's how bad the traffic is.
Oh wow.
And so where it would be about an hour and a half commute every morning and then every evening, if not sometimes a little longer in the winter times. And so I would work full time, and then I was working full time in real estate in every moment that I didn't have it. And when I got my license, my daughter was 4 months old. So I did build it bigger. God did bless me with like a 7-figure years in real estate, so I was able to build it really big. But then I was at a spot where I looked at it and I was like, at what cost? I'm not
Yeah.
seeing my family anymore. And even though I've built it to my highest grossing year was 1.7 million, which sounds great as a CEO, but when you're looking at the net that you're bringing home because your expenses are so high, it I can do I net way more now than I did back then, and I do half as much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's,
and that's right there, right, when it goes with like even the children, because in my first year, a lot of people, well, some of the family members were saying that I did spend a lot of time with my kids. I don't remember. 'Cause I was like
yeah.
7 days a week and go day and night, day and night. I really don't remember my first year. So I'm like, and I do not want to remember it either.
Yeah, and like my only time that I had with the family was Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings, and half the time I was serving at the church, so I'd be either on the soundboard or on praise and worship. So yeah, I was there, and with my kids and family, I saw them, but I was serving.
Yeah.
So it was like get there, do everything that I need to do for the Sunday morning, and then as soon as noon hit, back to work.
Yeah, it's crazy. Isn't it's crazy? But it's just think about it. Like us now, we have children. We're working. We're building our own businesses and things like that. And now, if we look at it back, how the disciples were when they were with Jesus, consistent, going on and on and on and on and on. It's like, well, now I know why is the reason the disciples didn't have no kids because it's not recorded, except I think Peter. But it's like, think about it. Just like ministry is something that is keeps going, and again, God always puts the people in the right place, and He knows what's the people who's going to be doing it, and He knows, hey, this person's going to be able to handle it and things like that. So, that's
Oh, yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
He'll never put you in something that he can't, he doesn't think you're going to take, right?
Yeah,
Jesus says, I'm the gatekeeper, which is exciting in one spot where, all right, that doesn't let the wolves in because the gate keeps them out. But that also means he's not letting anything in that he doesn't think that you can handle and take care of. So that's, to me, is like one of the most encouraging things that you can imagine. That whatever scenario you're in right now, whatever storm you might be facing or staring down the barrel of, it's not that bad because it's not going to break you. If God wouldn't let that into you if He didn't think you could handle it.
yeah,
And it's everyone wants to grow. It's always nice to think, oh yeah, I want to grow. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I think of the year that I hit the 1.7 million. Like, oh sweet, I can put that title on my for what? Yeah, I got an award up top from Remax because I hit that award level. I've got some accolades I can throw behind my name now, but at what cost?
yeah,
It lost time with my family. It was my wife's incredible. She's an amazing woman, so I don't think it put pressure on our marriage. But I wasn't around, and that's not sustainable. So,
No.
but everything that you do and all the hardships you're going through, you're growing, right? So you get a choice in that situation. Are you going to grow in your faith, or are you going to grow in what the world gives you? Which is
Yeah.
anxiety, depression, pretty much the opposite of the fruits of the spirit.
Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing, right? That Jesus always gives. Like, he have given us the warning, and then he was like, "Follow me, don't follow the world." Right? And it's like, hey, I'm telling you, the world's actually garbage. It's depressed,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the truth, right? And now you see people, with faith, Christians. We're like, something happens, and we're like, okay, it's meant to happen, or like someone die in our family or something, and some people just hold that for so long, but other people are like, hey, I know where that person went, and that person was a believer, and I'm gonna see him or her, right? And I'm not saying we should not mourn for the loved ones, but the difference of it, right? Is that's what you're saying. It's like the difference of you can see who chooses to stay suffering and want pity from the world, and those who are like, I'm with Christ, and hey, I can show you something, right? Because again, it's like we can't save no one's soul. It's only God can do it. Christ is like, hey, I can save your soul, but I always say that I'm here to plant the seed. I plant the seed, and Jesus is the one who's gonna let the seed just burst out and just do his thing. But I like that. That's the same thing I do here. Like, my company exploded, and I didn't feel the satisfaction either. I was like, I wasn't happy. We made it to a magazine, and we're like, oh yeah, we're like the number one company around. But I was like, okay, and it's
Yeah.
not that. It didn't fulfill me at all.
No, no, it's and that's the thing, right? I've been successful in business, and we've launched another whole company, and actually the story behind the company itself was we went to one of these high level speaker events that you had to audition to go to, and so we went down to Austin, Texas, and here we are at this event. A very very respectable real estate coach, I guess you could call her, and I was dialed in. My wife and I were like, "All right, cool." We sacrificed a lot of time, which is our biggest thing is time, because we had to get childcare, which is not easy when your kids are 6 and 4 years old. Or back then they were 5 and 3.
Yes, it's
And
not.
my parents don't live anywhere close to me here, and my in-laws are not young anymore, so
Yeah.
it was a lot for them. So what we had was we were there, we're ready to dive in and learn, and the entire time we were there, I was like, "There's really not a lot of like, this is no aha moments. This is nothing." And actually, where it completely died for me is they had a guest speaker come in and do a little area, and the first thing he says, like, "Look, I don't believe in any religion. I think it's all garbage." And he's like, "I'll tell you what the meaning of life is. It's nothing." And after that point, I was like, "Okay, this whole thing is a waste of time." But what actually happened was every evening we had people showing up to our hotel room, and we were teaching them stuff that we're doing in business and in marketing and within real estate, and they were saying, "This is what we learned from your hotel room. We learned more here than we did through the entire 3-day event." So they're like, "We should really do that." And so so we built out a whole training system, a whole mod, like 70 video series, basically set it up like a huge Bible study, but for real estate, and obviously little tips and tricks and a lot of stuff that I do, and careful not to mention the word Christianity, but there will be many times where I'll say, and there's a really good book that will suggest this, right? And talking about your tongue as a rudder, obviously it's referencing James, the book of James, but we did that, and before we actually built out the whole course and we built everything out, my wife and I prayed, and I was like, "God, if you really want us to go into this, just like you did with real estate, just give me some kind of comfort and confidence that this is what you want us to do." And that week, my brokerage that I'm at, which is a very large brokerage, asked me to do some keynote speaking on email marketing. So I was okay. It was my first run at it, first keynote speaking gig. Let's try it out. And I just said, God, if this goes good, then I'll take that as you want me to explore this a little further. If this is a fall on my face situation and it's horrible, then that's on me, and that was my own selfish pride getting in the way, and not you. I'll try and listen to you. It went so well that we had other brokerages calling us to come speak. It was one of the most attended sessions last year for any volunteer situation, not like these huge name coaches that come through. And so they're like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And fast forward to now, and we've built it out, and we actually just are about to launch it next week.
Yeah, that's nice. Like it reminds me of the verse Matthew, which I was looking for it as you were talking. Matthew 20:26, where Jesus says, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." So, and then it's like the question I have for that with it is like, how do you apply the biblical principle in your business practice, especially when it comes serving both clients and your team?
Yeah. So we have a real estate team. We have other agents that work under I don't really like saying they work under us because it's first among equals kind of style. Yes, I am footing the bill. It is my name on the board. But very much I call them business partners. They are partners in our team. And I don't look at them any higher than I am. I think they're phenomenal. And it's about hiring the right people. I've got three, Jeff, Randy, and Nicole. All three of them are very phenomenal at what they do. And we come from a place where our mindset is, we're going to cover your entire back end. Let us support you to be the best version of yourself and run your business. Yeah. And here's the training program that we give to you go through the training program. And actually Randy came on board and he had nothing, no money at all, nothing, very desperate situations, I guess you could say. He started following the program, following the courses, and in 90 days as a real estate agent, almost hit 80K.
Yeah.
So, totally turned his life around that.
Yeah, you said at one point, it's like you don't see them as employees, you see them as partners in the company, and those who don't have a business, like, they wouldn't understand that part because they always see that the owner is like, well, it's the owner and he can do whatever he wants. Like, I have a team in my office, and we also have the night team, the cleaners and things like that. And I have had cleaners who have told me, it's like, I've never seen an owner coming out, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna put you to do. I'm not gonna make you do something if I'm not gonna do it, right? Yeah. And it's like, and I'm gonna dirty my hands. I'm like, I'm okay with it. And a lot of people have seen that. They're like, oh wow, and that's a cool thing when an owner is willing to be like, hey, see all of us equal versus I'm up here and all of you guys are down here. And that's what I tell my team. It's like, if you look at the pyramid, right, my name is not up there. If we go down, all of you guys are in the top and I'm in the bottom. And they're like, no, you're not. And I said, no, because I'm the one who has to lift you guys up. You guys are not going to lift me up. I'm lifting you up. And it's been really cool. It's really cool. And
the one thing I got to say, like, the one thing I love about owning a business and doing things and running operations the way that we do is that we have the ability to impact others. And sometimes you don't see it right away, but Marfa and Donna, those two women are phenomenal. They live in the Philippines, and because of the position that they hold in our company, which I cannot stress enough as to how valuable they are in our business. They may be a virtual assistant, but to us, my wife and I, they are a big part of our business. And over Christmas, I'm not sure it was Christmas bonus or just they had saved up enough money, but Donna was able to send us a picture of her taking her entire family out to the movie theaters, which is something that you only do if you have money to spend in the Philippines. But otherwise, like that, this was the first movie in movie theaters that her entire family had ever seen. Oh, so wow. It was like a huge moment for them. It meant a lot. And then Marfa was able to send us pictures of her and her husband got on like motorbikes, and they were able to do a little tour through the Philippines, which was just so important to them, and helping that marriage grow together. Like, they are phenomenal and incredible. Again, just like partners in the business, that we look at them not as employees, because they are, to us, they're more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what, we're going back to when Christ was actually having dinner at Matthew's house, and the Pharisees comes like, "Why are you hanging out with these people?" And he said, "Well, I'm here for the sick. I'm not here for the healthy. And whoever is healthy, why am I here for?" So,
Yeah.
and that's cool, because, like, again, God puts the right person in each spot, and He's like, "I know why I got you here. Now you got to trust me. Just sip it, do what I'm telling you to do, and that's it." And that's really cool to hear,
Yeah,
like, even
one
the
of the best
Donna.
advice I got from a missionary, actually, uh, early on in my business, when I was kind of explaining to him how, like, I want to do ministry in my business. I want to give it back to God, because everything I have, I do believe that came from Him. But he gave it to me, and I'm probably going to get his words wrong, but the best I can remember it is that you can do ministry in your business, but your business is not a ministry. And what he meant by that was, you still got to run it like a business. You still have to run it. We're called to do our best, and to work with worship, kind of thing. So God would only want you to do your best. And it doesn't mean that you need to be a capitalist, or try and make as much money as you can, but you should want to run a profitable business. There was a whole parable about the coin, right? Not just
Yeah.
shoving it in the dirt. So to run a profitable business can be honoring, depending on how it's worshipped, right? At one point in life, every moment in life, sorry, you are worshiping something. It's either false worship, and that's worshiping the idols of the world, or it's true worship, where you're actually worshiping and praising the Creator, who all things are possible through. But where I was running into early on, and I got hosed a little bit, or taken advantage of in my business, was I was trying to business plan with my heart too much, instead of running it like a business, but then rewarding within. That's what we do now. But there was a time where I was like, no, it's okay. Whatever, treat me as horrible as you want. That's fine. It's just proof that I'm serving you guys, and that's not the way to really be either.
Yeah, for me it was the opposite. For me is I wasn't showing people love enough. And I was not, and my wife was like, "Dude, you got to learn how to love your people." And I'm like, I just can't. I'm like, they cannot do the job. And I doing switching that and showing them love, I seen the difference of it, because, like, we will have lunch. I will have lunch with my team, and none of them will eat. They will wait until I pray, and that's something that, if they're not believers, but they will wait. They were like, "We're waiting," and I will normally would just wait for a bit. And of course, one of them always comes and say, "Hey, are you gonna pray for the food?" And I say, "Yeah, sure." So I pray for the food, and you seen that they know. And one of the things for me is, like, I don't like cussing, and some of them just will cuss like a sailor, and they will stop when they're with me, but you see them, like, what I'm doing is reflecting on them, and it's like we can treat other people as well too, with respect. But yeah, for me it was opposite. I wasn't showing people love. I was just like, "You're not good enough. You're fired. You're out." And yeah, it was really a struggle for me.
Well, the other hard part too is, if you think about it, on our end, is we were slow to fire on some situations. We should have fired people a lot faster. We're getting a lot better at it now, which sounds heartless, but it's true. There are times where you need to cut people faster to let them flourish in somewhere else. And we were too like, no, they'll get better. I believe the best in them. I believe the best in them. Now it's like, you know what? If you're not working, you're not doing your job, and I'm not going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, and
So
one of the things my father-in-law have always, he taught me this. It's like, it's only two things that the employees should do. They have to be honest to be teachable. If they're not honest, they won't be teachable. And I have continued using that. for my entire career in my business, and it has worked. So
That's really good.
yeah. So there we go. Now you can use it.
I like
You
it.
can
Actually, I
actually
think I might. That's actually good.
yeah, and my employees, they actually, it's so funny because my operation manager, she will come to me and she's like, Harry. And I say, yes. I just actually just use your own speech on times and words. And I was like, okay. And one of the things is that it's just like, you gotta be, if you're honest, you will be teachable. But you're not being honest with me, which means you're not gonna be teachable when I'm gonna teach you on how to do the job. And people have like, yeah, I'm not the one to shop anymore. So, and they will leave, but I have always told her to just show them respect and you will see. And for her is, she's always honest with me. And for her, it would be like, hey, and she will tell me, she's like, hey, if you feel like I'm not doing the job, just please tell me. And we can find somebody to do the job. And I said, it's not saying that I want to give up, but I'd rather see the company succeed and we can find something else for me to do. And I'm like, no, you have the heart and you want to learn. But to mention a little bit something that I said earlier, for me that was having a hard time loving people. And my wife, this is why my wife don't like listen to my story and my life stories. I grew up with nothing. And I was actually like homeless for like 10 years. So for me, it was like, I didn't like calculate, so, okay, let me show people love and give them grace. But for me, it's like, no, you don't know how to do it. I will do it. I will just save money. And for me, I was just like in that bubble. And I'm like, no, I cannot lose it. I cannot lose it. That's why my first year, I'm like, don't remember nothing. It was so hard for me to just let go. And now not. Now I'm like, hey, how you going? And I'm watching, and some people were like, well, I don't know. And I was like, you're not doing your job. I technically hire you to do the job. If I didn't need you, you would not be here. So I need you to step up. So
Yeah, well, kind of what you're saying there too is a huge pillar in our business is automate, delegate, eliminate. So whatever task, every task that you're doing, and you're doing it multiple times, can you automate it? Can you delegate it to somebody else? And do you even need it? Can we eliminate it? So automate, delegate, eliminate is probably one of the best things I've ever started implementing into my business. And that's where I fell into AI. Like I do a ton of stuff with AI now. And everything, and it's funny because in real estate, anyone who's listening, if you know a real estate agent, honestly, hopefully they work hard and they're good agents. But in our area, I'd say it's 10 to 1. You've got one good agent and 9 lazy entitled agents. And so those 9 lazy entitled agents would always reach out and ask, hey, with AI, how do you get it so they just give you clients? Like, you have to provide value. No one's going to be like, oh, thanks for that AI trick, and now I want to work with you and you only. No, it all comes down to creating value, whether that's through content, whether that's through solving people's... Like, if you can solve someone's problem, you'll never go out of business.
yeah.
But everything with I do with AI is strictly how can I automate this faster and create better content and create better resources for people.
Yeah. So it's funny how you mentioned AI, and the next question was going to be that, like from a Christian perspective, how do you see technology as a tool for advancing God's work? And how can the agents use AI in a way that reflects their faith?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to go into any technology with a level of respect. So if you don't respect something enough and you think that, oh, I'm better than this, it will take over, right? It's a trick that the devil's been playing for the beginning of time, right? Even in Adam and Eve. Oh, you don't respect this? It's just fruit. Just take a bite, right? And obviously the rest of the stuff that's happened in Genesis 1, we'll tell you all about it in 2. But the whole concept of AI for me is a tool. It cannot replace you, but you can use it to get more things done faster. So I'm a huge advocate of do more better. AI can write things a lot better than I can, and I don't need to sit down and try and write everything out. Instead, I can train it, teach it to ask me questions. I'll answer it, and I'll answer some key things in that I want to say, and then it spits it out. But the thing with AI, it's an 85-15-5 rule. You have, or 85-10-5. 80, it'll do 85% of the work, but you still need to read it, and you probably have to still adjust 10%. 10% of it needs to still be tweaked and add your spin on it, because that'll take away the digital thumbprint of AI as well. And for anyone who's watching, and if you want to know one of the key elements of AI, is look for what's called an M dash. It's a longer. It's not the shift by the 0 on your keyboard. It's a longer version of that hyphen, and when you see that in AI in a content, unless it's a professional author, it's most likely AI. But as you're doing it, so then 10, and then if you really want to put it through a copywriter again, if you're really not sure of your words, or maybe you weren't that strong in writing, then throw it back through as a copywriter and say, fix no more than 5% of this.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT. I mean, like, write emails and everything. My grammar's not as good. And my wife would tell me, she's like, you got to practice more. But I'm like, it's the language barrier. So
yeah, well,
it's
you
like,
can speak more than one language. I only got good English and bad English is all I can speak. So,
yeah.
but with AI, like some of the big things. So if there's any entrepreneurs out there who are listening, there's something called Answer the Public. That is probably one of my favorite AI tools, because you can go on Answer the Public, and a lot of people use Google and search engines for questions, and most times it's just a question they're sending out. So with Answer the Public, it takes all the questions that are searched in the last 2 weeks in an area that you're looking for, and you throw a keyword, usually 1 or 2 words. So I can put like real estate down, and it'll tell me everything people are searching. So now I know what people are searching, and I can go by which one had the most hits in the last 2 weeks. 370 people searched this keyword. Okay, so now all my content, I'm writing out my content as I was doing normally, but then I'll take that keyword that I know is trending, and I'll throw it into ChatGPT and say, this is a popular keyword right now, mix this into your response, and now it'll trend higher, so your searchability becomes a lot higher. And when people are searching, they're finding the content that they want to digest to answer their problems, and that's the stuff that you've created, right? And obviously you put your own flair, your own spin on it. When you're looking at any kind of content, you need to really think about the trajectory of the consumer. So from pain to problem to consequences of that pain, and then throw in your story, solution, and vision on how to fix all that. And when you can bring all that together with marketing, so that way that when someone is searching for something and they've landed on your article, your lead magnet, your whatever, you can solve that and comfort them. And then you can start to build a relationship, because you can get people's interest through marketing, but all conversion in a sale happens through the conversation that you're going to have with them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things you said, right, is like, take advantage of AI. There's a reason why God gave the knowledge of AI, right? It's like, use it. And I like it because it even helps me in Spanish as well too. So it helps me for both. So
well, yeah, because AI can switch the languages around no problem.
Yeah, that's it. Good job for the guy who actually invented it.
Yeah, it's very complicated stuff, that's for sure. I'm trying to see if one of the ones that I use a lot. Perplexity is obviously a big one too. I actually enjoy using Perplexity a lot. If you don't use Perplexity, I highly recommend it. So it has replaced my use of Google, because Perplexity is free. Yeah. And sometimes you search things and you're like, oh, I did not want to search that. It's just some words in English have 2 different meanings or 3 different meanings depending on what it is. Yeah. When you're using Perplexity, there's no ads, so you can actually get the truth out of it. But it also sends you a bibliography, so you can source what websites are there. So when it comes down to using it in a Christianity world, sometimes I'll have a verse in mind, and I'll just stick it in, like, oh, I can't remember what verse it is, like, even myself, one of my life verses I think for myself would be Ecclesiastes 9:9. But for a little time period, I was like, was it 7:7? I don't know. And obviously, I can pull up Ecclesiastes and look, but I would just search it real quick because I got myself confused. And for anyone who doesn't know, Ecclesiastes 9:9 talks about your wife being your portion. Mm-hmm. So, my wife is a fantastic, amazing woman, but I am in other people's houses all the time, and sometimes I'm helping people sell a house, and they're going through a divorce, and they're very emotional. They're not always acting with the clearest of minds, and there are some situations that I've been in where it's like, I don't want to be here, but one thing that'll always go in my mind is that my wife is my portion, and everything that I do, I want to be God honoring in. And I was a C student in high school, but for my wife, I want to be the absolute best that I can be, and she is the portion that God's given me, and that is more than enough for me.
Yeah, no, and that's for me. It's like, my wife. I told her that she's my best friend. She's my little buddy, and for me, if I'm someone like, if I'm with another female who I have to drive somewhere, which is an employee, whoever it is, she's the first one on the phone, and she's right there. And I'm driving my car, and she's like, "Hey, what you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm here with this person," right? Because at least down here, people would just talk. And my wife trusts me, like she trusts me the best. And there's some people who they will go through divorce and everything, and I'm like, nope. I was like, go talk to my wife. She will help you. I'm like, no, I'm out of that one. I do not want to be near. And it's not that it's not like my wife doesn't trust me or I don't trust myself with it, but it's just Satan can do something dumb, right? And it's just like, it just takes only just this little thing, and it's just like, for me, it's like, I'd rather just be backing off, because I can say something and I can be like, I don't know, the fruit of the spirit or something, and saying of a verse, and people just go, and so I'm like, no, I'll be like, I'm done with that. So yeah, my wife is my buddy. So
the other thing that's also easier for me too is the fact that my wife has more access to my things than I do. So she has my social media on her phone because we run the businesses, and she needs to sometimes answer people through that, and she has my social media, she has my WhatsApp, she has everything. My computer's the same password as hers, so there is literally, unless maybe a carrier pigeon or something like that, there is no way that like she knows everything that I do and where I am. So I'm not too worried, and I think that's actually comforting more than anything.
Yeah.
And one thing yeah.
And that's one thing, like you mentioned, like, she has everything. Like, my wife has everything. She knows every password of mine, whatever. She has everything that she can do. But that's the trust right there. And we're living in now in a generation that is like, no, it's mine. It's not yours. It's mine. And it's just like, but you guys become one. And it goes with that, right? And again, as a believer, it's like, God tells us, you will leave your mother and father to become one, and you're one, not two. And I like that, what you just said, because it's like you're telling your wife, hey, I trust you and you trust me, and you can see whatever I'm saying and doing, and text messages, and here it is.
Oh yeah, like there's so many times where I'm like, hey, where's my phone? She's like, oh, I got it right now. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah. Not worried. I have no worry at all that you have my cell phone. Like,
yeah, and I know that for one of the things, because I know that I did an update on my phone at one point, and I think when the new AI was coming, and I get so many spams even through my old emails and all that, and my phone, one day I was just with her, and my phone started going crazy. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So somebody hacked my phone, so she actually went and she just put a subscription to block all porn and all that. I mean, like, it just went nuts. And I'm like, honey, I'm not doing nothing. I'm just right here standing with you. And she's like, oh, someone is just hacking. And that's the trust that she knows. I'm like, hey, I don't have no time to be like looking. And I'm like, no, I see something on Facebook. I say, here, honey. And she would look at it, she would block it. And she'd be like, "He is my man." So, but no, in my last question, right, for you, which is the bigger picture, as someone deeply invested in both business and technology, how do you maintain the kingdom focus, perspective on success, recognizing that our work is ultimately serving a higher purpose in God's plan?
Yeah, I would say, well, I read a ton. I actually, it's the pastor of my church's fault, but I was not a reader at all, and he influenced me quite a bit, and as he does, which is great. And as a result, I read a lot now, and so I try on just a reading portion. I'll read 2 or 3 business books, and then I always come back to a Christian book of some sort. And at the same time, it's nice to visit some Christian books, but it's also better to live in the Bible. But actually, the last one I just read was The Drama of Scriptures. This was incredible. This basically takes the Bible into a 5-act play, and maybe 6-act play again. But it goes through the entire Scripture as if it was written like from a play, like a Shakespearean play point of view. And it unpacks things, and you can just see such the beautiful design in the Bible through like you can see it in the Bible, but the book just helps you find and highlight that the way it's pieced together. And then, yeah, I thought that was just a brilliant book. But that's the one way through my learning is I do that. But technology wise, I think it just comes from a place of a relationship with God, with He gave me everything that I have. And every time in my business where I've thought, hey, you know what, I can work a little harder. Maybe I'll do this ad campaign. Maybe I'll do this, and I'll win it for myself. Those are the worst weeks, months of my business. So even right now, as a real estate agent that doesn't do cold calling, that doesn't do all these tried and true methods that the average agent will do, my business comes fully from God. Yes, in the Agent League, we talk about our 4 zones of marketing. You still got to meet Him halfway. But I do know that any business that I get all comes from Him. That's just how it goes. And at the end of the day, you're solving people's problems, and the biggest problem that everyone has is sin. And the only cure for that sin is nothing I can do. I can't do anything for you. And same with myself. So as I'm in the business to help people, whether that's in real estate, whether that's in the Agent League with the coaching platform for realtors. We even have what's called sawdust. I'm not sure if you've ever heard this term in business, but it happened from the lumber mills. So the lumber mills would take these trees and shove them through, and they pull out planks. But then they look down and see the floor and like, oh, there's all this sawdust everywhere. Well, what happens if we got some glue and just made boards out of this stuff and started selling those? That's what I started doing, right, out of sawdust. So we did the same thing within our business. We have fantastic, again, I don't want to call them employees, but the fantastic people in our business that they're really good at social media. They're really good at certain aspects of marketing. And so what we've done is small businesses that are looking for a way to help just manage their social media by posting regularly, which can be very taxing and challenging. We offer a service for a very low rate because we're, again, just using the sawdust up. We're using extra time for our amazing members of our business to fill in extra time, and it gives us the ability to give them more hours while making small margins, not a huge margin, but that's not the point of it. But again, everything comes down to we're trying to solve a problem, and the biggest problem everyone has is sin, and just keeping that, and then myself included. Like, I am far from perfect, and the more every day that God can be augmented and I can be diminished, that is a good day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like true, right? It's like, you know, when people see, it's like we talk, we're like, hey, I'm not perfect, right? And they see that, it's okay, he's not gonna judge me. But for me, it's like, hey, I'm gonna give you as much as grace as possible, but I'm also gonna hold you accountable, right? And that's when it goes with down back to the business. It's like I have to hold people accountable. I'm still going to show them love. I'm still going to be the light of Christ and all the stuff that God calls me to do, but I still have to hold people accountable. And you mentioned earlier, it's like, you love them, but you also have to let them go. And sometimes letting them go makes them say, "Oh wow, like I messed up something that I had good going on, and I messed it up." So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah,
And actually, one thing that we were kind of talking about that I've been wanting to kind of bring it back. So I'll bring it back to something you had earlier is, it's kind of like that glass half full mentality, right? So it's again, your first year and my first year are very different. Our mentally where we were and what place we're at, and it
Yeah.
kind of makes you think of that whole like the glass is half full or half empty kind of scenarios. But at the same time, as a Christian, there's a better analogy that you can almost think of as to where you come from. One is my goals are huge because the God I serve is bigger than that. All right, so that's where my goals are lined up, is because I know that I can't. If I can't do it without Him, then where is He in the business?
Yeah.
But the area that I was going to come back to on a thought process was, instead of the glass being half full or half empty, think about the crucifixion. What do you think about? Do you think about the cross? That's the negative. Or do you think about the empty tomb, which is what happened? And as so many times as Christians, we'll just focus on the negative, and it's so easily to be done and spiral in that negative, and just focus on the cross, focus on the cross. The cross was a wicked, torturous device created by the Romans. And Jesus is not the only one that got crucified. He wasn't the first, he wasn't the last. There was tons of people. Millions, probably.
Yeah.
But he's the only one that rose out of the tomb. Right? So,
And that's it, and that's really cool too, right? Like you were mentioning for the cross, and I have talked in my previous episodes, right? The cross, we look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, that's a symbol. That's where Jesus Christ died. No, that's where He showed your love for you. That's with His love right there. But He showed you, I love you, but look what happens when you follow me. I'm going up to heaven. I have a kingdom from you. And again, it's like, well, of course, the Bible, the knowledge of the Holy Spirit gives us the knowledge of the Bible. But, that's, like I said, it's really cool just to know and stuff like that. We can use stuff like that to talk to our employees or people who work works in our company. So, yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of weird calling employees.
I guess
right now,
employees. I don't want to say employee is a negative thing by any mean, and you know what, to some of these, to Martha and Donna, it just means so much to be employed. So that might be a title they enjoy. I don't know, but all I know is that they're two incredible women that we're very happy to have on the.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming. And anyone who has actually listened to this podcast, you can actually listen to an Apple Podcast, Spotify, here on YouTube. Donald is going to give me the link for what we were talking about earlier about the sending money to the people for the Philippines. I appreciate you coming, Donald. Hopefully we can actually have you back and your wife as well too. We can actually do it like in a weekend or something that we can do it during the day, and hopefully I can bring my wife in. So, but I appreciate you coming.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Is there one thing that you want to say to the listeners before?
Whatever storm you're going into, I do think that at some point you're always just out of a storm, going into one, or you're already in the middle of one. So whatever you are doing, whatever you're feeling, whether that's through business or relationship or your personal, your health, whatever it is, just give it to God, because I find I struggle the longest and the hardest when I don't go there right away. There are times where I am just so exhausted trying to figure out these solutions, and then the second I just stop and pray and then give it over, it's like the next day it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Why didn't I do that earlier? So whatever you're in right now, just have hope, as Paul would say, right? Have hope, be encouraged, and just forget about the problems you have and start focusing on reflecting the love that Christ has given us. Because no matter what you're going through, you should always have time to praise and praise Him, because you praise Him not because of what you're getting or what you're doing or how you feel, but you praise Him because of what He's done. And that doesn't change.
Yeah. Well, amen to that. Again, we appreciate it, and hopefully we get to talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.